Okay, excuse my hair and excuse the files in the background in my daughter's room because a lot less noise in here. I have music playing because you can still hear everything. My computer picks up everything, and my son's mad because he can't come in here with me. And my husband's playing the game and he's like yelling on the microphone. So I'm trying to block and tune that noise out. But yeah, as everyone knows, I made the Take a Stand on Facebook because of what happened to the young girl, Alexandria Cherie. And it hurt me a lot. Like, I've never really been affected by it. It affects me when stuff happens to people because I'm a kind person, but that really affected me. So, like, I woke up in the middle of a couple nights crying. I didn't even know this girl, and like crying and thinking about my own situation, and just thinking if more people would stand up and say stuff. Maybe if she knew someone or if she heard of someone or some kind of organization where they spoke up and talked about stuff like this happening, she would have been more comfortable and with someone other than her family members. Like, to my knowledge, from what the news says, her mother knew. And she just made a rule that the boyfriend couldn't be in the house with her daughter, but he can still be there, which to me makes no sense, but to each its own. So I want to make some type of organization. I don't know how big it'll get. I don't know how little it'll be, but something that could just let people know that they're not alone, that they're not the first person, they won't be the last, and that there's hope, and that you should never be afraid to speak up against anyone. Because a lot of time, like in my situation, I was scared to speak up and I was scared to speak out because it was my parents. And I wasn't like scared, like violently scared, like they were going to hurt me. I was scared because they were all I had. Excuse me if I get emotional because this is very hard for me. I've never told anyone besides close family members anything. And so, like I'm saying, I didn't tell or didn't speak on it because it was my parents, and it hurt. Like, and I didn't want to lose them. They were all I knew. And a lot of times that's why a lot of children don't speak out. Either they're threatened or they're lied to, they're manipulated, or they're scared. And because that's all they know. And no one wants to go to foster homes. No one wants that. So that's why I made this page. And I really feel like God laid it on my heart to make me make this page. So that's what I did. And whatever the outcome is, hey, God bless. So I may not have had the worst story in the world, which I thank God, because I know there are people who have been through way worse than I have. And me personally, it's very hard to talk about without crying because I have forgiven my parents completely. I've given my life to God. I've forgiven my parents. I don't too much think about this anymore. It's just with this girl's, Alexandria Cherie's issue, it came up and it's hit me heavy and it's hit me hard. So, like I was saying, my story's not as bad as hers, and it may not be as bad as some people's, but it's my story. And I uploaded it as a video because I felt it's a lot more effective for me to other people, and like when I see other people's story, to see it physically, how it affected them, than to like write it down on a piece of paper. A piece of paper doesn't mean much. So my biggest fear from this video or from anything is the relationship between my mother and I. I mean, my stepfather, of course I still love him and I still care about him. He's my stepfather. But I've gotten to a point in my life where I've accepted what has happened to me, and whether he likes me or not, it no longer affects me for me telling the truth. My mother, it'll affect me. She's my mother. She's my birth mother. Sometimes I used to be mad at myself and I didn't know why. I was like, why? Like, I see all my friends with their loving parents and I'm like, what did I do wrong? And so, you know, of course, naturally you would think, like, is it my fault? Did I do something wrong? Whatever the case is. So that's my biggest fear from this, and it's a fear that I have to accept because, like I said, in my heart and in my eyes, this is something that God put on my heart for me to do. And whether the outcome is my mother talks to me no more or she continues to love me as her daughter, I don't know. No matter what, I will always love her. She will always be my mother, and I'll always care about her. Sorry, YouTube. But yeah. So basically, my story skips around because it wasn't an all-time thing. Of course, I was born. I had a normal life up until probably about... Sorry if I start crying. This is like really hard. And this music is not helping. I thought it would, but it's still making me cry. Not sad tears, but it's just because... Okay. Anyways, when I was 12, as most of my friends know, and they know who they are, I was subjected to a form of abuse that was not physical, but more or less manipulation into believing that if I did child pornography, I would be able to buy things that I wanted, like go to the mall and my parents basically told us you'll be able to buy this and you'll be able to buy that, and you have all the stuff that you want and you'll have money. You know, as a 12-year-old, I'm just like, cool, yeah, I have all this stuff. And so, you know, that's what made me okay with it and made me say yeah. And so at the age of 12, I was in the 6th grade at McLean Middle School. That's the first time my parents subjected me to being, I guess you could say, a nude. I wasn't completely nude, but shots were inappropriate. No matter how you look at it, I was 12. There's no way I should have been taking lingerie pictures. And I tell this part because I don't know what young child could be out there whose parent could be making them do the same thing and manipulating them into thinking that it's okay, because it's not. A lot of that stuff affects me now mentally, that it didn't affect me at the time, but it did affect decisions that I made throughout my life, and I didn't realize that until I got older. And so now that I'm older, I'm more able to, you know, look back and be like, okay, I understand why I made these decisions. I understand why I made these choices, you know, and I accept them. But like I was saying, I'm sorry I had to stop the video because my son started whining. It would have picked it up because he wants to come here with me, like I said. But yeah, I'm telling this part of my story because this is a form of abuse. It is. It is no child, period. I don't care what age. If you are under the age of 18, you should not be taking pictures nude, partially nude, and see-through lingerie, any kind of lingerie, because lingerie is not for children, it's for adults. And you should not take pictures like that, period. And if your parents telling you, oh, well, you'll get this nice stuff and you'll get that, it doesn't matter. That stuff is very irrelevant to how it will affect you when you get older. The stuff that it will put you through. The places that you know, it's crazy. Like, just don't do it. If your parents have you doing that, tell someone. Don't be scared. Speak out and tell someone and let someone know what's going on, because that is not okay at all. But tell someone that it's not okay. You should never cover for your parents when it comes to anything like that, because it's not okay. Anyways, for my second encounter, this is going to be a long video because, like I said, these things were over time. It wasn't like a year span of me being abused or being neglected or whatever you want to call it. It wasn't like a year span of this type of stuff. It was literally chunk by chunk, and these things did affect me, and they didn't all happen at once. How they affected me in many different ways. I was a teen parent. I try not to blame anyone for that because I made decisions, and yes, those things can affect the decisions that I made because I was exposed to stuff at a very young age that I shouldn't have been. Like naked pictures and like, come on, I'm 12. Like, that's stuff that I shouldn't be exposed to. At least I don't feel any child of that age should be exposed to. Again, to each its own. So, I mean, of course, that made me more curious about sex and sexual things. So yes, I made decisions to have sex at a younger age than most, or even some. And yeah, I became a teen parent. I was careless, and I became a teen mother at a very young age. But anyways, the next incident, I want to say I was in the 9th grade. I went to Riverview High School, and I started dating a male that was older than me, but there was nothing in between that span. Again, I'm sorry. From the 6th grade, we moved, and we didn't do the modeling thing for a while. And then we moved down to Sarasota, and when I moved to Sarasota, I pretty much went back to being, I guess, having a normal teenage life, whatever. And nothing really happened up until my sister moved. My sister, she moved to New York, and that affected me. It bothered me. I mean, I don't blame her, but it bothered me because she moved. I love my sister, and I didn't want her to go. But we were young. She thought about herself, of course, which most young children do. And I've talked to her about this. And, you know, I love my sister to death, so it is what it is. But once my sister left, you know, I got into a lot of trouble. Not like a lot of trouble. I wasn't like stealing, selling drugs, doing drugs and all that stuff. But like, I got this notion in my head, because I was talking to my stepfather once, and he was like, well, you can't really, no one can tell you no. Like, they can tell you no, but you don't have to listen. And once he told me that, I really got this thought in my head, like, yeah. Y'all could tell me no, I can't go somewhere, but I'm not gonna listen, because I was pretty much, I didn't like make straight A's, but I made A's and B's and C's, like an average kid. I never did anything, never went anywhere, but every time it seemed like I asked to go somewhere, it was an issue, it was a problem. And I was like, what am I doing wrong, you know? So my first thought was, okay, well, since I'm not doing anything wrong, then forget it. I'm gonna just do what I want to, because it don't make sense that I can't do nothing and I'm not doing anything wrong. And, you know, so, you know, I decided, okay, well, I'm just gonna do me, I guess you could say. I didn't do anything crazy. I would just go hang out with my friends, because my stepdad was always like, no, you can't hang around these people, and that, like, he just knew everybody in that town. That girl's a hoe, and that girl's a hoe. And I'm like, really? Like I can't hang with everybody in the freaking town's a hoe, so I can't hang with nobody. Like, come on. But anyways, I mean, to this day, I don't know if that was really just protection. I mean, they were cool with me. I don't know. I never seen them being hoish, so whatever. But so after that, I was probably like I want to say, I was probably like, was it the 10th grade? It was not the 10th grade. I'm not exactly sure. But basically, one day my stepfather came home. It was in the daytime. My mom was at work, and he came home, and he was drunk. I could smell liquor. He came from the bar that was like right by our house or whatever. And he was laying on the couch. And as me and my sister, as young children, you know, we used to go lay on my step, but we were like little. Like, I wouldn't permit anyone over the age of 13 to be laying on any grown man, period. But we used to lay on my dad's chest, which, I mean, a lot of girls do. I mean, it's comfort. It's your father. You would never think anything wrong of it. But anyways, so he told me to come lay down. And so I did. I went and lay down. And he was talking to me. I mean, he knew about me messing with the older dude. So he was like, let me talk to you or whatever. And I was like, sure, you know. And I was honest with my stepfather, because I felt like I could be. I trusted him. And that's another thing with abuse. People who you trust will take that trust and take advantage of it, literally. I told my stepfather everything because I trusted him. So I lay there and I was telling him whatever about the dude that I was talking to, the older dude. And, you know, this conversation kind of just went sideways. Like, as a daughter, I was just, like, the conversation became uncomfortable. He started to say stuff like, well, why don't you make money while you having sex with these dudes? You might as well make money from it. And I'm just sitting here like, as my father's telling me this, like, what in the hell? Like, literally, what in the hell? And so, you know, like, I'm like, what the... I should make money. And he's like, yeah, you should make money. And he was asking me questions like, do I give head? And, you know, just questions that I don't think most fathers would want to know. So the questions in general made me uncomfortable. But I still laid there and continued to talk to my stepfather, you know, because I tried not to think too much into it. I was like, okay, well, maybe, you know, he's just asking questions or whatever. I didn't think nothing of it. I trusted him. So then he proceeded to rub on my back like he was comforting me, you know. I mean, I wasn't crying or nothing, but I guess I was just like, I guess he feels that I need to be comfort about this conversation. I don't know. And then I slowly felt his hands going down on my butt and on my legs, and that's when I became completely uncomfortable. And I knew it. To me, it didn't feel right. It didn't seem right. And, you know, any grown woman, this part might be a little descriptive. So if anyone has a child watching this or hearing this or seeing this, I don't know if you want to, but this part might be descriptive. But I could feel, as any woman who's been with a man, who knows that when a man gets aroused, his penis moves. I've asked numerous men, including my husband, because my husband knows about this story, does it do it involuntarily? My husband says, well, if you're getting aroused, it does it, and you can make it happen. And that's what happened as I was laying on top of my stepfather. And that's when I felt that, that's when I told him, I was like, okay, I was like, you know, I just make an excuse. I was like, I gotta go to the bathroom, so can I, you know, for the good. And my stepdad was like, okay, well, let me carry you to the kitchen. And I'm like, oh my freaking, like, literally to me at the time, I was like, this really can't freaking be happening right now. Like, that was my father. And the reason why I keep saying father, because people always ask me after, like, hearing the story, they're like, well, why do you call him your dad? He raised me. I was probably like 2, 3, maybe 4 when my mom met him. So, to me, he was my father. I don't know my real father. I never had. My sister had the blessing to know her biological father. I never did. So this man was literally all that I knew. And so I let him carry me to the kitchen. I got down. I went in my room. I went in my bathroom and I locked my bathroom door. I called my best friend, and she knows who she is. And I told her to come pick me up. And she came and she picked me up. And then, like, later on that evening, my stepfather called me, asked me, was I coming home? And I told him no. And I told him why. And then he was like, what? How dare you? Why would you even think I would try something like that with you? I'm your father. This, that, and the third. And that's where, as a child, the confusion would come in. And the thoughts that maybe you were wrong. Maybe you were thinking too much into it. And so I went to my other friend's house who, again, I don't want to name these people. They know who they are. I don't want to name them. But I went to my other friend's house and I told her mother. And her mother she was like, you need to call the police. Like, that. Nothing about that sounds right. She was like, if you felt uncomfortable, you need to call the police. She was like, well, tell your mom. If you don't want to call the police, tell your mother. And so, of course, that's what I did. I told my mother. And of course, versus me and her husband, her boyfriend at the time, she believed my stepfather over me. Again, like I said, I don't want ridicule against my mother because I've forgiven her for this. It hurts to talk about it because for the longest, I just accepted what they told me. My like, literally, this hurts me to talk about this. But like I was saying, I told my mother and she believed my stepfather over me. I literally spazzed out on my mother and my stepdad. The next day told me to get the F out their house, whatever. So I took my stuff, I called my homegirl, and I left. I went to stay at her house for a little bit. Then I went to stay at another homegirl house for a little bit. And then I left literally the city. And, like, it's crazy because after I left the city and I stayed with one friend and I ended up staying with my other best friend for a while, her mother sat there and actually said that she could tell that something wasn't right about my stepfather. And it's crazy how so many other people could be on the outside looking in and see something that someone who's standing right there cannot see. And that's why I constantly and will constantly put on my page to take a stand. And if you see something that does not seem right, you say something. A lot of people like to be like, that's none of my business. That ain't got nothing to do with me. But if that child ends up dead because you chose not to say nothing because you felt like that was none of your business, that's blood on your hands. I don't care how you want to look at it, but I see it that way. If I see that somebody else's child is being abused and I choose not to say nothing because that ain't none of my business, that's blood on my hands. That's something that I could have prevented. That's something that I could have said something about. I mean, not blaming my friend's mom, but she said she just knows something she didn't seem right about him. She never met him or anything, so she didn't know. She didn't even find out about this till I was like older. So that's when she said that she knew that something didn't seem right. But I'm just saying in general, if you look at someone and they don't seem, or something don't seem right about them, then you do what you got to do and make sure that person gets looked at, checked out, whatever, background check, whatever you got to do. But yeah, basically I stayed with that friend. Anybody who knows now will know what I'm talking about. I stayed with her, ended up getting pregnant by, again, making careless decisions. And I got pregnant. I had to move back down south with my parents. But of course, at this point, my mother didn't want me staying in the same house because of obviously the accusations that were made beforehand. And my stepfather claims he didn't feel comfortable with me staying in the house. Like it was my fault. So I was sent to a program. I went to the program and I loved the program. I actually would have preferred being there. I learned a lot, especially for becoming a teen mother. And after being in the program, one of my friends got in trouble. We and her were close, so she got kicked out. So they claimed they had to kick me out too because they didn't want her mom coming back asking questions or whatever. Why I didn't kicked out, because birds of a feather flock together, whatever. So I ended up having to go back home with my parents. This is, again, I was not 18 yet, but because I had a child, they offered modeling to be able to make money for her, to take care of my daughter, nude modeling. And so I did, and I was literally like only a couple weeks probably from being 18. So I did nude modeling to, I guess you could say, to take care of my daughter. And that still haunts me to this day. Honestly, it does. Like, I hate to say it. I tried to stop it. This is the part that hurts me because yeah, I was a little older. Again, I still wasn't of age. And it was basically like manipulation once again from my parents. And that's why I even put on there that people over the age of 18 are emotionally abused, physically, all of that. Because people will use their trust and use their power over you to get you to do stuff that you don't want to do. And I literally did not want to be doing that modeling. I didn't. I hated it with a passion. Lord knows I hated it with a passion. And so I literally told my mom that I didn't want to do it no more. And that's when the issue came in. Oh, well, you're going to have to figure out what you need to do for your child, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Again, I'm not going into all of that. But it basically came down to me quitting school, dropping out of high school very early. It wasn't early, but I dropped out of high school in my senior year, and I was literally close to graduating. And again, this is why I say speak up and speak out, because of course my counselors were concerned. They were like, why are you leaving so early? You're about to graduate. And I explained to them what happened. I tried to lie and hide and pretend, but I couldn't. I cried. I broke down crying and I told the truth. And when I broke down crying and told the truth, just like in the past, I did tell a counselor about what happened with my stepdad. And that's when the counselor told me, Angelica, if you feel like something happened, something wasn't right, and that's to anyone. If you ever feel like someone's touching you inappropriately, don't let them tell you that they weren't. Because now as an adult, I know I was not wrong. And I don't care what nobody tried to tell me. I don't care how nobody feel about this video. I was not wrong. and how I felt was right. And that's to anybody. If someone touches you the wrong way and you sit here and you swear up and down that they didn't touch you right, and they're like, oh, I didn't mean it like that, da 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 da, blase, they meant it like that. Straight up. They knew what they was doing, and now they don't mean it like that because they know damn well they finna get in trouble. I don't care what nobody say. Ain't nothing. I swear, I have a daughter, and I refuse to let her grow up thinking that somebody finna manipulate. Who? Alright. I done been through it. She will not go through it. Somebody will have to kill me for her to go through it. Same well as my son, because little boys are raped and molested just as well as little girls. But anyways, back to my story. I told my counselor, and literally, I guess they called my parents, and my parents put me out with my child, who was probably about 6 or 7 months at the time. I don't know how old she was, but they put me out. It was, and then I had a boyfriend at the time. Mom come pick me up, and I went and stayed with them, basically. And that ended that for a long time. I didn't talk to my parents for a long time, and over time, of course, in and out, I talked to them, and we just pretend like it never happened. To this day, we pretend like it never happened. No one talks about it. It's never been talked about. We've never sat down. So really, there's nothing that me and my stepdad can sit around and talk about, because of course he's not going to admit to it. Period. But as far as me and my mother, it's just like it never happened. We act like it never happened. We don't talk about it. That's not the right way to approach it, period, with anyone in their family, because it never solves anything. Like I say, I still struggle with this. I'm married to someone, and I struggle with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I struggle with trust issues with my husband, and he's the most wonderful. Anybody who knows him knows he's the most wonderful. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying fully put your trust in anybody, because I've always been a person who's been like, okay, well, I trust people to a certain extent, but it's there. It makes you think things about people that probably would never do stuff like that, because someone who you trusted so much did something to you like that. And it didn't stop there. As an adult, it's hard for me to even talk about this, because it still affects me. Like I said, there's part of me who's like, Angelica, you don't need to say all of that. It's not, everyone's business to know that. But then at the same time, there's a part of me that's like, if I don't say this stuff, then but it didn't stop there. Just put it that way. I'm an adult, so I know how to handle it now. But this story was basically for anyone who is younger, who don't know how to speak out, who don't know how to talk, who don't know how to step up and say, this person is hurting me. You don't even have to, if you don't want to tell your family, go to the authorities, go to someone. Because again, you don't want to end up like Alexandra Shireen at all. Or like the little 9-month-old baby. Like, she couldn't even speak out for herself. So if you see someone being hurt, you see someone being abused, again, this happens all the time. It happens with mothers hurting their children, molesting their sons, or fathers molesting their sons, or brothers molesting their sisters. It's disgusting. It's nasty, and it's something that has been going on for too long. And like I said, this is a dirty little secret that needs to be dealt with and done. And yes, it will not stop people from doing it, but at least it will catch the people who are doing it and put them behind bars where they belong, where they can have nasty men in jail and nasty women in jail touch them for trying to touch children, because it's not right. Or for using children in the wrong publicity, using them for sexual or for money or whatever. To this day, I don't know why I went through what I went through. It didn't do anything but make me a stronger person, and now to this day, it's making me do this to try to help other people because of what I went through. And so that's my story, pretty much summed up into a nutshell. This might be a little bit of a long video. I'm sorry for those who be like, dang, this is a long video. But yeah, this is my story summed up into a nutshell. And I thank you for watching. Like, share, comment. I don't really care. I most likely want y'all to share though, because like I said, this is something that a word that I want to get out, and this is something that I want to be known, that this happens a lot, and it is not okay. at all. And it should never be taken for granted. If your child comes to you and says, this person's touching me, or that person touched me, you take it as serious can get. And you run with it to any and every source that you can to get help for your child and get that person locked up or taken out your house, or whatever it is that you got to do, get it done, because you do not want your child to end up dead, or your niece or nephew or grandchild to end up dead or hurt or physically messed up or mentally messed up and hurting their children when they get older, because you did not prevent this from happening when you knew it was going on, or when you suspected it and you decided to just let it breeze on by. Put the word out there. Again, share this video. Let the world know it's not okay. It's not something that you should let happen. And just be safe. Watch your children. Protect your children. Look over your children as if God, like God looks over your children. Look over everyone's children like God looks over everyone's children, because this is not a simple subject. This is not an easy subject. This is not something that a lot of people want to hear or accept, but it's the truth. It's the reality. This world is crazy. This world is nasty. And if you don't have God on your side, you will be in a lot of trouble. So please, 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 again, like, share, comment, whatever, and just get the word out there. Start protecting these children. Start protecting these teenagers, and get these nasty scumbags off the street and out this world. Thank you, and have a blessed day.